A massive explosion tears through the city, leaving behind shattered buildings and smoke rising into the darkened sky. Flames burst forth as Leon channels his power, igniting the battlefield with intense heat and a blinding glow. With swift precision, Leon hurls a fiery projectile, cutting across the ground in a destructive path toward his target. The ground cracks and erupts as the energy collides, sending shockwaves across the area, scattering debris everywhere. Leon rises, his aura burning brightly. His signature move, Meteor Smash, descends, engulfing the enemy forces below. The aftermath of Leon's attack leaves the battlefield scorched, but he remains vigilant as the smoke begins to clear. A shadow emerges from the flames, unfazed by the destruction, standing firm amidst the burning ruins. Leon spots Kim Hyuntae stepping forward, his blade crackling with blue energy as his power surges. Kim Hyuntae's energy intensifies, surprising Leon as the tides of battle shift with an unexpected surge of strength. Kim Hyuntae steps forward confidently, preparing to retaliate, his blade glowing as he gets ready to unleash his power. Kim Hyuntae's blade hums with energy, cutting through the darkness as he launches his counterattack without hesitation. His power swirls around him, creating sharp winds that tear through the remains of the battlefield effortlessly. This is the tale of an exiled hero, forced to rise again in the face of impossible odds and betrayal. One day the world changed as countless rifts opened, unleashing monsters and chaotic energy into the fragile peace. Heroes from distant worlds arrived, but not all who fought were welcomed. Some bore scars that made them stronger. The world descends into chaos, fire consuming the city as monstrous creatures ravage everything in their path without mercy. Flames erupt across the skyline, leaving behind only destruction, marking the beginning of an era of relentless disorder. Cries for help echo as survivors scramble to escape, but the looming threat grows closer with every passing second. A monstrous figure steps forward, its eyes glowing red, locking onto a helpless survivor frozen in fear. The beast roars, ready to strike, as the survivor braces for an inevitable attack with nowhere left to run. Monsters continue their rampage, crushing everything underfoot, while few attempt to resist their overwhelming strength. The sky darkens with looming shadows as larger beasts emerge, leading the pack toward the heart of the city. Groups of heroes organize defenses, but the relentless assault proves too much for even the strongest guilds. The towering beast known as Gotar appears, snarling as it crushes the ground beneath its massive hooves. The field boss charges forward, leaving devastation in its wake as heroes scramble to hold their ground. Hwang Junho grits his teeth, realizing the monster's strength surpasses his expectations, making defense nearly impossible. Gotar's strike lands with immense force, shattering the surrounding area as Junho struggles to remain standing. Yu Jihan rushes forward to support, his eyes narrowed as he tries to reinforce Junho with everything he has. Despite their best efforts, the monster's strength overwhelms them, pushing both fighters to their limits. Gotar lunges again, relentless in its assault, leaving the heroes desperate to find a way to survive the battle. Hwang Junho shouts, signaling the team to strike as the monster focuses on him, giving the others a chance. Im Siyun gathers her magic, the air crackling with blue lightning as she prepares her strongest spell. Gotar growls, sensing the shift in energy, but it's too late as the spell surges forward. Lightning strikes directly, surrounding Gotar in a fierce storm of burning thunder, crackling across its massive frame. A blinding explosion erupts as the spell lands, shaking the battlefield with overwhelming force. Im Siyun steps forward confidently, smirking as the monster staggers, but her relief is short-lived. Gotar roars furiously, emerging from the smoke, barely wounded and angrier than before. Im Siyun's eyes widen in disbelief as the monster's resilience becomes evident. Gotar lunges at her, forcing her to retreat while Hwang Junho attempts to shield her from the blow. The clash sends shockwaves across the battlefield as Yu Jihan narrowly avoids the brunt of the attack. Yu Jihan rushes to Im Siyun's side, helping her recover as the battle continues to escalate. Lee Mia steps into the fray, her blade glowing brightly, ready to take advantage of the opening. Sparks fly as Lee Mia unleashes a devastating slash, tearing into Gotar with incredible speed and precision. Her blade glows with fiery energy, cutting deep into the monster's defenses as she follows up with another strike. Gotar stumbles for the first time, showing signs of weakening under the relentless assault. Gotar lets out a deafening roar, thrashing wildly as the team continues their relentless assault from every direction. The monster charges forward, aiming directly at Hwang Junho and Lee Mia as they hold their ground. Lee Mia raises her sword, signaling the final blow as she senses an opportunity for a decisive strike. Flames engulf her weapon as she prepares to finish the fight, eyes locked on the monster's exposed core. With a powerful swing, she unleashes Meteor Smash, the fiery strike crashing down from above. The battlefield shakes as meteor smash lands, erupting in a burst of fire and energy, overwhelming Godar completely. As the smoke clears, the monster collapses, defeated at last, leaving the team victorious but exhausted. Kim Hyun-tae steps forward, calmly confirming the dungeon boss is cleared as the others catch their breath. The Heroes Guild celebrates, recognizing the battle as one of their toughest victories yet. Kim Hyun-tae reflects on their success, standing tall as the reliable leader of his team. As the dust settles, the celebration fades, and Kim Hyun-tae calls out to Yoo Ji-han with a cold gaze. Yoo Ji-han stands at attention, unaware of what's coming, as the atmosphere shifts dramatically. Without hesitation, Kim Hyun-tae delivers a sharp verdict. Yoo Ji-han is expelled from the party immediately. Yoo Ji-han's expression hardens, disbelief washing over him as the weight of the words sink in. Rain begins to fall, mirroring the heavy silence as Yoo Ji-han processes his sudden and unexpected expulsion. Yoo Ji-han walks alone through the rain, his thoughts clouded by frustration, as he reflects on his expulsion from the party. His phone vibrates, displaying a balance that feels like an insult to the years he dedicated to the guild. The harsh reality sets in. 7 years of loyalty, only to be dismissed with barely enough to survive. Bitterness takes hold as he stares at the screen, questioning everything he sacrificed for the party. Behind him, a fellow guild member sneers, adding salt to the wound by belittling his contributions to the team. Memories of the party resurface, Im Seun's dismissive glance and Lee Mia's cold smirk as they belittle his efforts. Kim Hyun-tae's words echo in his mind, making it clear he was deemed unworthy to continue alongside them. The weight of rejection sinks in as Ji-han realizes the bonds he thought were unbreakable were fragile after all. Rain pours down heavier, mirroring his growing sense of isolation and doubt about his path forward. With a heavy heart, Ji-han questions the very reason he stayed in the Heroes Guild for so long. As Ji-han stands alone, the storm rages on, marking the symbolic end of his journey with the guild. Yet even in despair, a flicker of determination sparks. He refuses to let his story end in failure. Lightning crackles around him, triggering a hidden power, signaling the awakening of his unique ability. A digital interface materializes before him, revealing sampling, an ability that activates during dire moments. Ji-han steps forward, eyes fixed ahead, ready to embrace the unknown and forge a new path on his own terms. After weeks of searching, Yoo Ji-han finally stumbles upon a small guild that piques his interest. Despite its size, the guild's potential surprises him, with a hidden growth rate that others overlook. His skill activates, revealing a 99% chance of the guild rising to prominence if he joins. The realization brings a rare sense of hope, nudging him toward a new path he hadn't considered before. Determined, Ji-han sees the opportunity as his chance to rebuild and surpass those who once cast him aside. Ji-han's new ability allows him to glimpse the probabilities of success, a tool that could reshape his future. Driven by this newfound power, he sets his sights on proving his worth beyond his former comrades. Visualizing the possibilities, Ji-han silently vows to rise higher than Kim Hyun-tae and the rest of the Heroes Guild. Meanwhile, life at the new guild is far from glamorous, reflecting the uphill climb ahead of him. A minor inconvenience like a power outage during his cup, ramen only strengthens his resolve to keep pushing forward. As Ji-han approaches the guild, he encounters someone inside, catching them off guard with his sudden arrival. The lone guild member stares in confusion as Ji-han calmly introduces himself and expresses his desire to join. A wave of disbelief washes over them, unsure if Ji-han's serious about joining such a modest guild. Before they can react, Ji-han collapses from exhaustion, his journey finally catching up with him. The guild member stares in shock, left speechless by the strange turn of events unfolding before them. Yoo Ji-han slowly regains consciousness, his head spinning as he hears a voice calling out to him in concern. Kim Shu, the Fun Guild's guildmaster, watches over him, relieved to see Ji-han finally waking up. Ji-han sits upright, confused by how long he was out and surprised that Shu knows his name. Shu reveals Ji-han's identity by holding up his Heroes Guild ID, leaving Ji-han momentarily speechless. The room falls silent as Shu questions why someone from such a prominent guild would want to join theirs. Shu studies Ji-han carefully, curious about his reasons for leaving Heroes Guild for a small guild like Fun. Ji-han hesitates, unsure how to explain the situation without revealing too much about his past. A moment of tension lingers before Ji-han quietly agrees to explain everything to Shu. Shu listens intently, his curiosity piqued as Ji-han begins to open up about his circumstances. Shu leans back, contemplating Ji-han's words, sensing there's more to the story than Ji-han is letting on. Shu sympathizes with Ji-han's struggles but can't shake the feeling that Ji-han is holding something back. Despite this, Shu acknowledges Ji-han's talent and experience, wondering aloud why he would choose Fun Guild. Ji-han wrestles with the truth, uncertain if Shio would believe in his newfound mysterious ability. Before Jihan can respond, Shio shifts the conversation, offering to share his own story first. The atmosphere lightens slightly as Shio begins recounting his experiences, leaving Jihan to reflect silently. Kim Shu reveals his identity as a half-elf, born from the union of a human and an elf. Jihan listens intently, surprised by the revelation and curious about Shio's background. Shu explains how, after numerous dimensional invasions, the world discovered the existence of various species. Among them, elves stood out, known for their strength but distrusted by many humans. Shio admits that his elven blood draws suspicion, wondering if Jihan still wants to join Fun Guild. Jihan calmly responds, unfazed by Shio's heritage, making it clear he holds no prejudice against elves. He points out that discrimination based on race or species is something only narrow-minded people would do. Shu, caught off guard by Jihan's blunt honesty, notices his hands trembling slightly despite his calm words. Jihan reassures him, explaining he's encountered elves before and never found them much different from humans. Shu's initial doubt begins to fade as Jihan's straightforward nature starts to build trust between them. Shu relaxes, acknowledging Jihan's sincerity, and agrees to review his application for Fun Guild membership. As the conversation ends, Shu places his staff on the table, unaware of the subtle energy shift in the room. Suddenly, the staff glows faintly, reacting to Jihan's presence, surprising both of them. Shu recognizes the energy as the spirit sylph's power, hinting at a deeper connection between Jihan and the artifact. The mysterious reaction leaves Shu curious, as the meeting takes an unexpected turn that neither anticipated. The glowing orb hovers in front of Jihan, revealing he has been asleep for 12 long years without explanation. Confused and startled, Jihan steps back, questioning the mysterious presence and the meaning behind its sudden appearance. Before he can react, a surge of energy erupts, surrounding him as light pulses throughout the room. Kim Shu shields his eyes as the energy intensifies, realizing something far beyond their understanding is unfolding. A beam of light shoots skyward, piercing through the building and illuminating the dark clouds above the city. Kim Shu stumbles back, eyes widening as the swirling energy condenses around Jihan, signaling something extraordinary is happening. Shu watches in disbelief as Sylph, the spirit of wind, manifests beside Jihan, confirming an unexpected contract between them. The revelation spreads quickly. Jihan, once expelled, now holds the rare class of elementalist, an honor possessed by only 20 people. Jihan gazes at his hand as wind energy crackles around him, realizing his new path holds untold potential and power. Heroes gathered, their presence overwhelming as each one stood with pride, representing the strength of their unique contracts. Those bound by special spirits wielded unimaginable power, shaping the world around them through ancient pacts. Among them, spiritualists stood apart, rare and revered for their unmatched ability to command elemental forces. Luca Harrison, known for his mysterious aura, led others with grace, his spirit resonating across vast lands. Abu Bakr emerged from the desert, sand swirling at his feet, a formidable force against any who opposed him. Yet beyond the ranks of known heroes, irregulars existed, beings whose strength defied classification or expectation. These irregulars, powerful enough to rival guilds, operated alone, standing above the rest. Yu Jihan, bathed in swirling energy, stepped forward, his power unlike any other, a new irregular in the making. The wind bent to his will, his contract shaping his destiny as onlookers watched in awe and silence. A quiet understanding passed through the crowd. Jihan's path was one no ordinary hero could follow. Jihan's calm demeanor hid the magnitude of his achievement, contracting with Sylph, the wind spirit long thought unreachable. His companion's shock was evident. Sylph's previous contract was with someone they had lost. Breaking the bond was not an option. Jihan's grip tightened, knowing the responsibility that came with Sylph's choice. Spirits rarely shifted allegiances, and the unspoken rule was clear: only death could sever their connection. Jihan stood firm, accepting the weight of his contract, his eyes burning with resolve as the spirit hummed around him. Leon faced Yu Jihan, uncertain about his next step, but his pride wouldn't allow him to show hesitation. Jihan's calm answer left Leon frustrated, unsure how to handle the situation, as the tension quietly settled between them. Despite his pride, Leon acknowledged Jihan's talent and offered to guide him, seeing potential in his growing power. Accepting the offer, Jihan showed no resistance, understanding that learning under Leon could sharpen his control over Sylph. Leon's smile returned, eager to share his knowledge and ensure Jihan could harness his new contract effectively. Testing Jihan's abilities couldn't wait. Leon was determined to see him in action, suggesting they head straight to the field. Jihan's spirit surged, his hand glowing faintly as the air around them shifted, responding to his intent. Leon explained the danger of Ma zones, areas brimming with monsters, as Jihan absorbed every word carefully. They approached the outskirts, where low-class monsters roamed, serving as the perfect grounds for Jihan's first real test. Towering beasts emerged in the distance, each one pulsing with dangerous energy, waiting for the opportunity to strike. A Class 5 monster zone appeared ahead, just the right level for Jihan to experience controlled danger without risk. Jihan stepped forward, drawing Sylph's energy as Leon trailed behind, watching carefully for any signs of hesitation. Leon's honesty surfaced, revealing his lack of real field experience despite his status, catching Jihan off guard. Jihan's raised brow spoke volumes, but he silently took charge, moving ahead to lead Leon through the zone. With a steady breath, Jihan prepared to face his first opponent, the wind shifting as Sylph awaited his command. Jihan's steps echoed lightly as Sylph's energy trailed behind him, signaling the shift into the monster zone. Leon kept close, watching the surroundings as they entered the desolate city, signs of past battles lingering everywhere. Stopping briefly, Jihan scanned the area, sensing the faint presence of monsters hidden beyond the collapsed structures. Leon accessed the local database, confirming that cockatrices roamed the area, a dangerous but manageable threat. Jihan nodded at the information, his gaze fixed ahead as the wind stirred gently, sharpening his senses. Leon recalled a recent incident. Truckloads of cockatrice chicks had escaped, causing havoc across the outskirts of Bushan. Jihan listened carefully, intrigued by the potential challenge these monsters posed as his first real battlefield test. With no hesitation, Jihan saw the opportunity to grow stronger, treating it as a chance to refine his skills. The street stretched ahead, abandoned yet tense, as Jihan mentally prepared to take on both roles, tank and damage dealer. Leon trailed behind, acknowledging Jihan's resolve, while silently hoping their party would soon expand beyond 2 members. Jihan halted, sensing a distinct presence within the nearby parking lot, his instincts confirmed by Sylph's sudden reaction. Leon followed his gaze as the unmistakable figure of a cockatrice emerged, feathers rustling with latent aggression. The beast's eyes glowed red, its presence marking it as a Class 5 threat, lower but still unpredictable. Without hesitation, Jihan stepped forward, drawing on Sylph's power as the cockatrice screeched, sensing the approaching danger. Leon held back, preparing to offer support as Jihan prepared for his first real battle in the monster zone. The cockatrice lunged forward, talons glowing as it charged directly at Jihan, its shriek echoing across the lot. Jihan braced, wind swirling around him as Sylph's energy flared, ready to intercept the incoming threat. Leon shouted from behind, alerting Jihan just as the beast's wings spread wide, closing the distance in seconds. Jihan responded swiftly, his hand glowing as he activated Sylph's magic to counter the cockatrice's assault. The clash of energy shook the ground, with Jihan standing his ground against the monster's relentless force. Jihan focused, channeling Sylph's power to unleash a sharp gust that formed into arrows, ready to strike the target. The cockatrice prepared to strike again, but Jihan's wind arrows soared, slicing through the air with lethal precision. Each arrow struck with incredible force, pinning the monster back as it screeched in pain, struggling to regain balance. Leon observed in awe, realizing Jihan's abilities were far beyond what he had initially expected. The final arrow pierced the cockatrice's chest, leaving it stunned as Jihan's calm focus never wavered. As the cockatrice staggered, Jihan stepped back, satisfied with the result, but Leon's triumphant voice broke the silence. Leon boasted proudly, recalling his top performance at Hero Academy, attempting to lighten the mood. However, Jihan's attention shifted as rustling emerged behind him, signaling the presence of more cockatrices. Leon's shout came too late. The group of cockatrices descended rapidly from above, targeting Jihan's exposed side. Jihan swiftly turned, ready to confront the new threat, as Sylph's power surged once more around him. Jihan activated his skill, eyes glowing as his perception sharpened, ready to analyze the battlefield ahead of him. A digital grid materialized, marking each enemy's weak point as Jihan's calm gaze swept over the cockatrices. The system responded swiftly, identifying threats and highlighting possible maneuvers to optimize his next attack. The word sampling flashed across his vision, granting him crucial data that could shift the tide of battle. Jihan steadied his stance, fully prepared to outmaneuver the oncoming monsters using the skills at his disposal. As the cockatrices closed in, Jihan's command activated the evasion route, mapping out his next movement instantly. His feet shifted, dodging with precision, as the system calculated an 82% success rate for his maneuver. With swift steps, Jihan countered, casting haste to increase his speed, weaving between the attacking cockatrices. Leon watched in disbelief as Jihan gracefully avoided each strike, his wind magic creating a trail in his wake. The battlefield shifted in Jihan's favor, his calculated movements overwhelming the monsters with remarkable efficiency. As the last cockatrice fell, Jihan stood unscathed, the wind gently dispersing around him as silence settled. Leon's eyes widened, struggling to process the ease with which Jihan handled Sylph's immense power. Leon questioned how Jihan could adapt so quickly, doubting this was the skill of a newly awakened hero. Jihan's calm demeanor never wavered as he motioned to Leon, reminding him to collect materials from the fallen monsters. Leon quickly followed, still marveling at Jihan's extraordinary skill as they gathered what they needed. Jihan paused, satisfied with their progress, but a shadow loomed as Leon's eyes widened in alarm. Leon's urgent warning snapped Jihan's attention toward the sky as a massive cockatrice variant descended rapidly. The monster's talons gleamed with dangerous energy, striking down at Leon before he could react. Jihan's instincts flared, wind magic gathering as he prepared to intercept the attack at the last second. Leon stumbled backward, confusion washing over him as the monster's power far exceeded what they expected. Leon rose, shaken but unharmed as Jihan's magic dispersed the initial strike with a powerful gust. They both eyed the variant cautiously, questioning why such a beast appeared in a lower-level monster area. Jihan's system identified it as a high-level variant, far beyond the strength of an ordinary cockatrice. Jihan's sharp gaze locked on the beast, analyzing every movement for potential openings. The monster's glare intensified, signaling it wouldn't retreat easily from the confrontation. Jihan's system activated again, projecting a warning. The probability of evasion dropped to a concerning 12%. Leon watched nervously as Jihan asked if he could keep track of the variant's rapid movements. Leon hesitated but confirmed he could, albeit barely, drawing his weapon as backup. Jihan's eyes glowed, satisfied by the answer as he advanced, using his speed to close the distance. The cockatrice screeched, lunging forward, but Jihan's calm focus never wavered as the battle resumed. Jihan shouted the command, signaling Leon to act as the cockatrice lunged forward with razor-sharp talons. Leon swiftly unleashed his spell Slow Wind, forcing the monster's movements to drag as purple magic wrapped around it. Jihan seized the opportunity, dashing forward as the cockatrice struggled against the restraining wind's force. The spell's grip tightened, restricting the cockatrice's wings and slowing its attacks long enough for Jihan to strike. Jihan's blade glimmered in the air, preparing to finish the weakened beast in one precise movement. The cockatrice fought against the spell's restraint, screeching as it twisted and snapped in desperate attempts to break free. Jihan leaped high, narrowly avoiding a last-second lunge, as Leon's magic barely held the cockatrice in place. With a swift downward slash, Jihan's blade pierced the cockatrice's neck, ending the creature's struggle instantly. Jihan landed gracefully as the monster's body collapsed behind him, the battlefield silent once more. Leon watched in awe, impressed by Jihan's seamless coordination and decisive action during the fight. As the battle ended, Jihan's mind flickered, haunted by memories of a harsh voice echoing from his past. The voice ridiculed him, resurfacing at the worst moment, but Jihan shook it off as the wind gathered around him. Leon approached carefully, sensing Jihan's distant gaze as Sylph's power hummed softly around his partner. Jihan's eyes narrowed, refocusing as the wind dispersed, grounding himself once more in the present. Without a word, Jihan turned to leave, leaving Leon to silently wonder about the burdens Jihan carried. A strong figure stood amidst the rubble, the cityscape behind him shimmering under the afternoon sun as dust settled gently. The heavy steps echoed, each stride confident and calm, the weight of experience apparent in the relaxed movement forward. With a sly smile, he surveyed the area, eyes narrowing slightly as he felt the faint presence of lingering spirit energy. Yoon-Do-ha chuckled softly, recognizing the familiar aura. Another summoner in Korea? This could get interesting, he mused, crossing his arms. The once bustling city of Hwaseong lay in ruins, overrun by monstrous creatures. Silence hung heavy in the destruction. Crumbled buildings and dark shadows stretched across the streets, signaling the presence of powerful enemies lurking nearby. The ground trembled as faint growls echoed, and dark figures began emerging from the thick smoke ahead. A massive, blood-eyed monster lunged forward, its heavy steps cracking the concrete beneath its claws. More monsters followed, their glowing red eyes locked onto the ruins as they roared and prepared to strike. With a flash of blue light, Seijin dashed forward, drawing attention to himself with a fierce aura. He activated his aggro skill, sending a wave of energy outward, pulling the monster's focus towards him. The beast snarled and shifted direction, charging straight for Seijin as his power intensified. One of the larger monsters roared back, responding with a burst of flame from its mouth, forcing Seijin to defend. Seijin braced himself, signaling Jin Siyun to prepare the next move, knowing he couldn't hold them back alone. Jin Siyun stepped forward calmly, lightning crackling around her as her eyes narrowed in focus. With a single glance, she acknowledged Seijin's signal, golden energy gathering rapidly in her palm. Her chain lightning skill activated, sending bright streaks of electricity through the horde of advancing monsters. The bolts struck each enemy in rapid succession, leaving smoldering trails of destruction behind her. As the final surge of lightning hit the ground, the battlefield was engulfed in a glowing golden storm. Im Sion brushed off the dust, confidently dismissing the fallen monsters as nothing more than minor obstacles. Kim Hyuntae sighed, reminding Sion that her attacks nearly caught him in the crossfire during the battle. With a calm demeanor, Hyuntae ordered preparations for retreat, sensing the lingering danger in the area. Suddenly, a monster emerged from the debris, charging at Sion from behind with startling speed. Sion's eyes widened as Hyuntae shouted a warning, his stance shifting to intercept the threat. Before the monster could strike, a blazing spear of light pierced through its body, halting it mid-attack. The lingering embers of energy faded, leaving the scorched remains of the creature behind Sion. Sion turned, realizing Hyuntae had intervened just in time to prevent the attack. Lowering his arm, Hyuntae's expression remained calm, as if the danger was nothing out of the ordinary. Sion exhaled deeply, but the heavy atmosphere signaled the battle wasn't truly over yet. Hyuntae wiped his brow, letting out a breath as the tension in the air slowly faded. Sion leaned against the rubble, commenting on how exhausting the fight had been compared to their usual missions. Hyuntae's gaze narrowed as he considered if a stronger variant had been hidden among the enemies. Sion shrugged, downplaying the fight, pointing out that it was just another giant worm. Despite her words, Hyuntae's clenched fist hinted at a lingering unease about the encounter. Kim Hyuntae unleashed a blast of energy, his unwavering confidence piercing through the lingering tension from the recent battle. Im Sion shifted nervously, caught off guard by Hyuntae's sharp question about the lingering threat from the monster. As Sion glanced away, Lee Mia emerged from the battlefield, her cold presence commanding attention with each step. Her tattered appearance told of intense combat, but her calm voice confirmed the area had been successfully cleared. Maya's glowing eyes scanned the field, ensuring no further threats remained as she rejoined the others. Kim Hyuntae's voice hardened as he addressed Lee Maya, warning her about reckless actions during their missions. Maya gave a quiet nod, acknowledging his concern but showing little sign of regret for her bold approach. Im Sion watched quietly as the two exchanged words, sensing an unspoken history between them. Hyuntae's focus shifted to Yu Jihan, the lingering thought of past conflicts hanging over the team. The air grew tense as doubts surfaced, but Sion quietly wondered if everything led back to Jihan's actions. Hyuntae's voice lowered as he dismissed any thought of Jihan's involvement, certain he no longer posed any threat. Despite his words, Sion remained unconvinced, recalling Jihan's strength during their past encounters. From a distance, a figure soared over the ruined cityscape, his power radiating like a beacon against the skyline. Onlookers stood in disbelief, witnessing Jihan's effortless defeat of a powerful monster looming over the battlefield. The tension broke as someone voiced the lingering question. How had Jihan accomplished such a feat alone? Jihan stood silently, surveying the battlefield as the remnants of the variant monster faded into dust. A distant observer marveled at how easily Jihan and his companion had taken down such a powerful foe. The man's eyes gleamed with opportunity, sensing profit from the aftermath of the battle. Meanwhile, Jihan's companion hurried over, checking for any injuries from the intense confrontation. Jihan brushed off the concern, standing tall as the calm breeze settled over the ruined site. Jihan's companion knelt beside him, still worried, but relieved to see him unscathed from the encounter. Their attention shifted toward the monster's remains, realizing the value in the rare material left behind. A slight grin formed as they discussed the potential profit from selling the variant monster's byproducts. Jihan's companion playfully scolded him for causing worry, but the tension quickly eased. Laughter filled the air as the two shared a brief moment of relief after the intense battle. Despite the lighthearted moment, the sheer magnitude of the monster's remains left them puzzled. Jihan's companion voiced concern, questioning if this was more than just an ordinary farming trip. As they pondered, a new figure approached, offering assistance with a confident stride. The man introduced himself as Yang Saim, CEO of a monster processing company. His arrival signaled new opportunities, but Jihan's gaze remained cautious toward this sudden offer of help. Jihan questioned the unexpected presence of a businessman, his gaze fixed on Yang Saim standing confidently nearby. Saim shrugged, explaining the company's infancy and his need to secure opportunities firsthand. Saim's attention shifted to the remains of the monster, offering to handle the carcass processing for them. Jihan's companion nodded, agreeing to let Saim's company take charge of the cleanup. As they walked away, Jihan couldn't shake the feeling that something about Saim seemed slightly off. Saim knelt beside the monster's remains, inspecting the cuts and admiring the precision of Jihan's work. He praised the quality, already calculating the potential profits from selling the materials at high prices. The excitement in Saim's voice grew as he envisioned expanding his business with the new resources. Saim made an offer. He'd provide unlimited scraps to Jihan in exchange for something valuable. His hand opened, revealing a glowing shard of magical crystal, the air around it buzzing with power. Saim's eyes gleamed as he admired the magic crystal, seeing wealth and opportunity wrapped in its shimmering glow. The rare crystal could only be found in powerful variant monsters, making it incredibly valuable. Saim's excitement soared. This crystal could catapult his company into new heights of success. Suddenly, the ground trembled as a massive creature stirred beneath the rubble, breaking the momentary calm. Saim's bravado faltered, and he quickly pleaded for his life, offering to give up the crystal in exchange for mercy. Jiang Saim grumbled under his breath, irritated by the interference from unexpected parties during his operation. His eyes narrowed as someone accused him of trying to steal what wasn't his, raising the tension further. The confrontation escalated as Saim turned to face the figure approaching from the distance with heavy footsteps. The arrival of Yun Doha, a well-known Class 1 hero, immediately shifted the atmosphere around them. Xian's eyes widened in disbelief. What was a hero of Doha's caliber doing in this desolate area? Yun Doha casually approached, his gaze locked on the magic crystal Saim had been clutching moments before. Doha's calm yet imposing presence left little room for argument as he questioned the legitimacy of Saim's claim. Saim, unwilling to back down, insisted the loot belonged to his guild despite the hero's intimidating demeanor. Doha's expression hardened, explaining his orders to eliminate the variant that produced the crystal. A dangerous aura flared around Doha, and Saim's system warning flashed. Victory against Doha was simply impossible. Jihan sensed something was off, his body tensing as a sudden burst of energy erupted from behind, catching him off guard. He spun around, only to see Doha already standing uncomfortably close, his calm gaze cutting through the rising tension. Doha's hand casually lifted, emphasizing that this was no simple negotiation but a statement of authority. Jihan's eyes narrowed. When had Doha managed to close the distance without him noticing? His instincts screamed danger. Doha's presence seemed to weigh down the air, leaving no room for debate as his words carried an undeniable finality. A sly grin played on Doha's lips as he addressed Jihan directly, mockingly referring to him as a junior elementalist. Young Saim stumbles through the wreckage, his breathing ragged as he spots an overwhelming figure approaching in the distance. Panic sets in as Jiang Saim realizes the identity of the man, Yun Doha, the Earth Elementalist feared by many. Doha's reputation as the Earth Elementalist strikes fear. Known for leading one of Korea's strongest guilds, flames flicker behind him, a symbol of his power, as those around him fall silent in anticipation. Yun Doha stands firm, his gaze locking on Saim, signaling that there will be no mercy for those in his path. Kim Si-hoo rushes forward, her voice sharp as she warns the enemy to stay away from Jihan, shielding him instinctively. She channels her mana, positioning herself defensively, knowing that Yun Doha's power could escalate at any moment. Doha advances, his heavy footsteps making the ground tremble as his intense gaze locks onto his target. Si-hoo's grip tightens as she braces for the inevitable, realizing just how dangerous this situation has become. The air grows tense, Si-hoo's heart racing as Doha's approach leaves no doubt of his intention to end this swiftly. Doha's eyes glow ominously as he responds to the threat, his calm demeanor masking the brewing storm within. Without hesitation, his mana surges, releasing a burst of power capable of devastating everything in its path. The battlefield shifts as Doha summons a torrent of energy, displaying the overwhelming strength of his element. His enemy barely reacts, stunned by the sheer force tearing through the area, struggling to process the danger. In an instant, the ground shatters beneath his feet, Doha's attack leaving no room for doubt about his dominance. Yun Doha emerges from the ground, surprising Jihan, who thought his earlier attack had sealed Doha's movement completely. Doha adjusts his glasses with a calm expression, analyzing Jihan's tactics and how he countered the previous attack. Jihan summons his element, unleashing energy to reduce incoming damage, displaying his sharp combat instincts. Doha recognizes Jihan's cleverness, noting how he concealed his magic at the last second to strike back. A smirk crosses Doha's face, impressed by Jihan's resourcefulness in managing such an advanced counter. Jihan's interface flashes warnings, highlighting the extreme danger of prolonged magic use, increasing his chance of death to 95%. Despite pouring everything into his attack, Jihan watches as Doha emerges unscathed, reinforcing the gap between them. Jihan questions whether this is the true strength of a Class 1 hero, shaken by Doha's durability. Doha steps forward confidently, mana swirling around him, acknowledging that Jihan cannot match his level of power. With a grin, Doha offers to continue, signaling that their fight has only just begun. Doha casually asks who will strike first, exuding confidence while Jihan raises his arms in surrender, ending the fight abruptly. Doha freezes, surprised by Jihan's sudden decision to give up, catching him off guard. Jihan clarifies he no longer intends to fight, pointing out that Doha's real target is the crystal behind him. Doha considers Jihan's words, realizing he's not interested in further escalation, holding the crystal he sought. With a playful tone, Doha backs off, recognizing Jihan's clever way of avoiding unnecessary conflict. As Yun Doha stands holding the crystal, a helicopter from the Hero Association arrives, drawing attention to the scene. Doha calmly notes the arrival of his association peers, understanding they were sent to monitor the situation. Kim Si-hoo and Yu Jihan notice the helicopter, realizing the association has been keeping tabs on Doha's movements. A figure steps out, scolding Doha for acting independently without waiting for backup to arrive. Doha brushes off the comment, lifting the crystal as he signals he has already finished the task at hand. Doha approaches Jihan, curious about the junior hero's name after their brief encounter in battle. Jihan introduces himself confidently, stating his name and affiliation with the Fun Guild. Doha repeats the name, recognizing Jihan's potential and contemplating his strength during their clash. Doha, in a surprising gesture, offers to recommend Jihan for the upcoming Class 4 promotion exam. Jihan is left stunned by the unexpected recommendation, questioning Doha's motives. Doha laughs off Jihan's surprise, casually stating he's recommending him just because he feels like it. As the helicopter prepares to leave, Doha nonchalantly informs his subordinates to handle the paperwork for Jihan's recommendation. A subordinate expresses concern about the lack of verification for Jihan's guild, complicating the process. Despite the concerns, Doha insists, forcing the association to fast-track the recommendation. A brief moment of shock spreads as the subordinate notices Doha's injury, a rare sight considering his strength. Yun Doha relaxes, reclining with satisfaction after his earlier battle, amused by the unexpected twists he encountered. He revels in the fun, intrigued by Jihan's performance, considering the rookie more interesting than he initially thought. Meanwhile, Jung Saim reflects nervously, regretting his involvement and dreading the consequences of his past behavior. Saim kneels, begging for forgiveness, but the hostile energy from his peers signals punishment is inevitable. A guild member questions Saim about Jihan's promotion, hinting at his overheard conversation and looming test. Saim points out the urgency of the upcoming test, urging Jihan and Si-hoo to update their equipment immediately. Jihan checks his gear, realizing the worn-down state of his sword could cause problems during the test. Saim's advice continues as he notes the deteriorated state of their overall equipment, warning of potential disaster. Jihan contemplates the suggestion and agrees to visit a workshop to make necessary upgrades before the test. With agreement from Si-hoo, the group sets off towards the workshop, knowing the test draws closer. They arrive at the workshop only to find the area unexpectedly empty, unsettling Jihan and Si-hoo. Jihan's guard rises as the silence feels unnatural, prompting him to cautiously scan the surroundings. Si-hoo, sensing the shift, questions Saim, suspecting some kind of trick from their companion. Saim nervously laughs, denying any involvement, though the tension remains thick. A shadow emerges from the dark, prompting Jihan to call out, demanding to know who they are. A dwarf blacksmith sits behind the counter, casually mentioning it's his day off, curious why the group arrived. Jihan and Si-hoo are startled, realizing the workshop is run by a dwarf famed for crafting legendary weapons. Dwarves are known as master blacksmiths, and their weapons are highly sought after by heroes across the land. Jihan marvels at the sight, admitting it's his first time encountering a dwarf in person. Si-hoo, equally impressed, agrees, feeling the weight of the rare opportunity standing before them. Si-hoo compliments Saim for leading them to such a reputable workshop, acknowledging the value of their find. As they look around, the blacksmith suddenly vanishes, confusing Jihan and Si-hoo. Laughter echoes from the corner as the blacksmith reappears, denying he's a dwarf and calling himself human. With a grin, he insists he's not only human, but proudly claims to be a native Korean. Jihan and Si-hoo exchange skeptical glances, stunned by his unexpected declaration. Jihan confronts the blacksmith, doubting his words and accusing him of clearly being a dwarf. Si-hoo requests to see his ID for proof, hoping to resolve the odd situation. Laughing, the blacksmith hands over his ID confidently, prompting disbelief as they examine the card. Shock spreads across Jihan and Sihu's faces as they realize the blacksmith is listed as 27 years old. The situation grows more absurd as they question if the ID is real or if this is some elaborate trick. Sihu expresses frustration, accusing Saim of tricking them again as they face the eccentric dwarf blacksmith. The blacksmith's attention shifts, and he asks Jihan if he can examine his sword with a curious glint in his eye. Jihan hesitates, but eventually hands over his sword, unsure of the blacksmith's intentions. The blacksmith's expression sharpens as he inspects the sword, recognizing unique elemental marks left behind. "Are you a wind elementalist?" he asks, his knowledge of the craft astonishing Jihan. Jihan is taken aback, questioning how the blacksmith could deduce his elemental affinity so accurately. The blacksmith explains how skilled artisans can identify a user's traits by examining the wear and damage on a weapon. However, he notes the sword's limitations, pointing out that it can't withstand Jihan's elemental usage. The blacksmith disappears briefly, returning with a glowing blade designed for elementalists. Introducing it as the Namhoyol sword, he presents it to Jihan, confident it suits him perfectly. Sihu teases Jihan, praising his new sword while subtly reminding him to take care of it properly this time. Time passes quickly, and the day of the promotion test arrives, bringing tension and anticipation. Jihan and Sihu arrive at the grand venue, its architecture reflecting the importance of the event. Inside, the bustling crowd fills the hall as participants from all over gather to take the test. Sihu glances nervously at the sheer number of competitors, while Jihan stands resolute, ready for the challenge. Jihan observes the bustling crowd, recalling how long it's been since he last participated in a test of this scale. Sihu notes the overwhelming number of participants, commenting on how crowded it feels compared to her previous experiences. Whispers spread in the crowd, with some mocking Jihan for being expelled from Keros and still attempting the test. Sihu points out the gossipers, but Jihan remains unbothered, advising her to ignore the chatter and focus on the test. Jihan feels relieved that no rumors from Bushin have leaked, allowing him to focus entirely on the challenge ahead. Jihan resolves to keep his status as an elementalist hidden, avoiding unnecessary attention that could complicate his efforts in the test. The room grows quiet as an examiner scolds the participants, urging them to take the test seriously and act responsibly. The examiner berates the crowd, highlighting how many participants fail to meet even the average standards expected for heroes. Jihan listens silently, his determination unwavering as he prepares for the moment he will prove his capabilities. A slight shift in his stance signals his readiness, his eyes focused on the task, as the tension builds around him. The Class 4 examiner, Bang Yunsik, delivers a harsh critique, calling Jihan substandard, his tone condescending and dismissive. Jihan's expression hardens, frustration building, as Yunsik implies Yundoha's recommendation might be nothing more than a political favor. The interface displays Jihan's probability of passing the test at a mere 1%, leaving him questioning Doha's true intentions. Yu Jihan stirred as Bang Yunshik's commanding voice echoed through the room, pulling him into the harsh reality of the test. Jihan stood tall, adjusting his posture under Yunshik's cold gaze, his resolve growing despite the examiner's obvious disdain. Bang Yunshik wasted no time in delivering his scathing assessment, branding the recruits as inferior and unworthy of the challenge. Jihan clenched his jaw, his frustration growing as Yunshik labeled the recruits subpar, dismissing their potential with a smirk. Yunshik's calculated smirk grew sharper, a holographic display showing a grim 1% chance of success for the recruits. Yu Jihan grabbed the pen, steadying his grip as he braced himself for the grueling test that lay ahead. A recommendation for the next phase had been processed, its urgency reflecting the importance of this particular evaluation round. The assistant glanced at the file, her concern evident. She questioned why Bang Yunshik, of all people, was chosen as examiner. Jihan walked toward the test area, the cold, sterile environment amplifying the pressure that came with being scrutinized. The Class 4 testing area stood as an imposing arena, where only the strongest recruits could hope to prove themselves. The clash began as recruits sparred fiercely, their movements fueled by desperation to pass Yunshik's impossibly high standards. Jihan dodged a flurry of attacks, his agility and instincts carrying him forward as he sought an opening against his opponent. Bang Yunshik observed Jihan's performance, his expression unreadable, but his sharp gaze caught every movement, judging silently. Jihan pushed himself to the limit, the intensity of the fight sharpening his focus as the room vibrated with energy. Yunshik smirked faintly, acknowledging the recruit's resolve but remaining steadfast in his brutal judgment of their capabilities. Yu Jihan collapsed to the ground, exhausted from the relentless test, as Bang Yunshik announced the failure of Team 12. Jihan looked up, frustration evident in his eyes, while Yunshik's cold demeanor left no room for consolation or explanation. From above, other examiners observed the test with skepticism, questioning whether Yunshik's extreme methods were going too far for recruits. The tension in the observation room rose as Kim Han-seok, another examiner, commented on how unforgiving the Class 4 process always was. Kim Han-seok smirked knowingly, reflecting on the impossibly high standards that Class 4 copycats faced, making success a distant goal for recruits. Oh Hien sighed deeply, wondering how to report the outcomes of Yunshik's harsh evaluations to the higher-ups overseeing the exams. Seo Jung-woo, another examiner, approached Hien, his voice calm as he mentioned that the last party for evaluation had finally arrived. Hien glanced at the profiles of Yoo Ji-han and his teammate, noting their guild affiliation as she prepared for the final evaluation. Seo Jung-woo pointed out the team recommended by their guildmaster, his curiosity piqued by their unusual background and prior achievements. The Dice Guild's reputation loomed over Ji-han and his partner, as the examiners anticipated how they would handle the brutal challenges ahead. Yoo Ji-han and his partner walked forward, the weight of the exam palpable as they prepared for another punishing round of testing. Hien muttered about the rigidity of their leader, Bang Yunshik, whose unyielding standards made every recruit's journey unimaginably difficult. Ji-han observed Yunshik, who stood alone, an imposing figure ready to test the recruits with the same ruthless efficiency as before. Yunshik welcomed them into the Class 4 exam hall, the cold expanse of the arena emphasizing the gravity of the upcoming battle. For the next 10 minutes, Ji-han and his partner would have to face Yunshik in combat, a test designed to break them. The requirements for promotion echoed through the hall: defeat the examiner, or earn their acknowledgement to proceed further in the test. Yoo Ji-han and his partner observed Bang Yunshik, analyzing his composed stance and wondering about his vast experience in such battles. Yunshik's immaculate appearance was unnerving, not a single scratch evident, despite the countless parties he had faced in these evaluations. Ji-han instructed his teammate to provide backup, drawing on past experiences to strategize against the ruthless examiner standing before them. With his weapon ready, Ji-han's energy flared as he acknowledged the challenging battle ahead, his focus sharpening for the confrontation. The tension snapped as the Class 4 examination officially began, Ji-han and his partner dashing forward to face Yunshik head-on. Yunshik countered immediately, unleashing a powerful attack that forced Ji-han to react, the explosive energy testing his reflexes. Ji-han gritted his teeth, realizing Yunshik's aggression left no room to breathe. The examiner was intent on overpowering them from the start. A powerful collision erupted, energy scattering across the arena as Ji-han struggled to hold his ground against Yunshik's relentless strikes. Ji-han's teammates shouted in alarm, concern etched on their face as the battle pushed Ji-han to his physical and mental limits. Ji-han barely managed to block Yunshik's strike, the sheer force of the attack sending shockwaves through the arena and testing his resolve. Yunshik's gaze sharpened as he observed Ji-han's abilities, his cold expression hinting at faint acknowledgement of the recruit's determination. Ji-han countered with a burst of energy, the swirling light shielding him momentarily from Yunshik's unrelenting onslaught. The examiner's eyes narrowed as he noted Ji-han's unexpected resilience, silently acknowledging that the recommendation letter might hold some truth. Yunshik uttered Ji-han's name, the intensity of his gaze shifting as he began to see the recruit as more than just another test subject. Yoo Ji-han launched an attack, his energy clashing against Bang Yunshik's overwhelming strength as the room filled with explosive pressure. Yunshik's counter was brutal, forcing Ji-han to defend desperately, the sheer force behind each blow testing his resolve and stamina. Ji-han reeled from the relentless strikes, his mind racing to adapt to the examiner's unyielding dominance with precise movements. He staggered slightly but held his ground, marveling at Yunshik's ability to wield such immense power with only a wooden sword. Ji-han gritted his teeth, determined to endure as he pushed back against the crushing weight of Yunshik's attacks with renewed focus. Ji-han took a step back, realizing he needed distance to strategize as he prepared to counter with his magic abilities. Channeling his energy, Ji-han summoned Wind Knight, unleashing a burst of magic that sent Yunshik momentarily off balance. Yunshik steadied himself quickly, his sharp eyes catching the technique. He identified Ji-han's skill as wind-type magic, a rare ability. The magic gave Ji-han an edge, briefly shifting the momentum of the fight as he capitalized on his agility and strategic positioning. Yunshik's expression hardened, his gaze narrowing as Ji-han's magical prowess proved to be an irritating challenge to overcome. In the observation room, the discussion focused on Yunshik's choice as examiner, his reputation for being ruthlessly efficient in evaluations. A senior remarked on how a recommendation letter carried little weight under Yunshik's scrutiny, his standards often breaking most recruits. Another added that only someone like Yunshik, the swordsman who cuts the wind, could test recruits of such high caliber. Back in the arena, Yunshik unleashed a devastating sword technique, its sheer speed and precision pushing Jihan further into a defensive stance. Jihan braced himself as the blade's impact carved through the air, every moment demanding the utmost of his skill and focus. Yu Jihan unleashed a flurry of strikes, his blade creating arcs of energy as he tried to break through Yunshik's defenses. Panting heavily, Jihan realized his speed was no longer sufficient, his movements feeling sluggish against Yunshik's unrelenting precision. Memories of past training flashed in Jihan's mind, the realization dawning that he was far from matching his mentor's level. The glowing blade in Jihan's hands pulsed erratically, draining his mana faster than he anticipated, adding another layer of difficulty. Determined to endure, Jihan tightened his grip, pushing forward despite the overwhelming disadvantage, refusing to yield to exhaustion. Yunshik's voice cut through the air, questioning how Jihan managed to secure a recommendation letter with his current level of skill. Anger flared within Jihan, but before he could respond, Yunshik launched another devastating attack, forcing him back once again. Jihan braced himself, his body trembling from the impact, as Yunshik's strikes grew more aggressive, testing his limits. Suddenly, Jihan's partner intervened, their magic surging as they shielded him from Yunshik's relentless assault, buying precious seconds. The duo regained their footing, the resolve in their eyes stronger than ever as they prepared to face Yunshik together. Jihan's partner stepped forward, their voice calm but firm, declaring their intent to take the lead in the battle against Yunshik. Determined to prove their worth, the partners summoned their energy, acknowledging that they couldn't rely on Jihan for every challenge. With unwavering focus, they charged toward Yunshik, their attacks sharp and precise, aiming to create an opening for Jihan. Yunshik chuckled at their boldness, intrigued by their resilience, and remarked on their lineage, questioning if they were part elf. The partners' energy surged, their confidence growing as they pushed themselves to the limit, determined to turn the tide of the battle. Jihan's partner charged forward with precision, their mana-infused attacks aimed at breaking through Yunshik's swordplay, defying all expectations. Yunshik smirked, impressed but dismissive, as he considered it foolish for a magician to challenge him, a seasoned swordsman in close combat. The partner tapped into their elven heritage, channeling mana directly, their heightened senses allowing them to listen to the flow of energy. With fluid motions, they unleashed Wind Arrow, the concentrated magic hurtling toward Yunshik with incredible force and accuracy. Yunshik readied himself, his confidence unwavering, as he prepared to counter the incoming attack with a technique of his own. The Wind Arrow cut through the air, but Yunshik scoffed at the attempt, questioning its effectiveness in such close quarters. With a swift motion, Yunshik deflected the attack, his skillful blade turning the powerful magic into a harmless display of sparks. Yunshik taunted the partner, challenging them for seemingly preparing only one strike as he launched a devastating counterattack. The arena vibrated with energy as the clash escalated, leaving both Jihan and his partner scrambling to keep up with Yunshik's ferocity. For a moment, Yunshik hesitated, his expression shifting as he realized the partner had something far more intricate planned. Mana circles began forming around the partner, each one glowing brighter as they prepared for an unprecedented multi-cast spell sequence. Yunshik's eyes narrowed in disbelief as he muttered about a Class 5 recruit demonstrating a 6-fold magic ability. The partner corrected him, announcing the spell as a 7-fold casting, their energy surging to its peak in a brilliant display. The combination of magic and precision caught Yunshik off guard, forcing him to recalibrate as the spell threatened to overwhelm him. As the arena erupted in a blinding burst of light, Yunshik's composed demeanor cracked, his inner thoughts admitting, "They got me." The explosion of light filled the arena as the combined attack landed, shaking the ground and forcing everyone to shield their eyes. Yu Jihan's partner moved swiftly, dodging the aftermath of the blast, their confident smirk signaling the belief that victory was near. "We got him," the partner exclaimed, their heart pounding with excitement, thinking even the experienced examiner couldn't have escaped unscathed. Yunshik's voice broke through the tension, acknowledging their strategy. "That wasn't bad," he admitted, his calm tone laced with subtle approval. But his smirk returned as he lunged forward, adding, "But it was too slow," catching Jihan's partner completely off guard. Yu Jihan's partner stared in disbelief as Yunshik effortlessly blocked the 7-fold magic attack, his calm composure unshaken by its power. Yunshik taunted them, his voice sharp. "So when are you going to attack, Yu Jihan?" His confidence only grew stronger. Jihan tightened his grip, his resolve solidifying. You will lose, he muttered, his eyes locked on Yunshik, the stakes higher than ever. Realization struck Jihan. The sword wasn't absorbing mana. Instead, it was wasting it, his energy depleting faster than anticipated. Determined, Jihan compressed his remaining mana, focusing every ounce of energy into his next move, pushing his limits beyond anything before. With a shout, Jihan unleashed the wind blade, its sheer force cutting through the air, aiming to shatter Yunshik's defenses.